With warmer weather here, many of us are spending more time outside, so it is crucial to know how to protect our skin from the sun's harmful rays and prevent skin cancer, the most common form of cancer in the United States. Christine Brannock, Oncology Outreach Manager with Cone Health Cancer Center, is here to shed light on what we all should know about skin cancer, from prevention strategies to recognizing warning signs. All right, to start, who needs to follow these recommendations?
Everybody needs to wear sunscreen and protect their skin from the sun. Everybody is at risk of skin cancer, though some people are at somewhat of an increased risk.
Okay, so the next step, we're talking sunscreen. What SPF is recommended?
So SPF is the sun protection factor. So all sunscreens need to protect us against the UVA and the UVB rays. So a SPF of less than 15 is only going to protect us against the UVB rays. A SPF of 15 is going to only protect us against 93% of those UV rays, and a sunscreen of 30 is only going to protect us against 97%, and a 50 or higher, 99%.
Amazing. Okay, so should you apply sunscreen before going outside instead of or after you're outside by a pool, maybe a golf course?
It's very important to apply your sunscreen 15 to 30 minutes before you go outside. It gives it a chance to absorb in your skin, so it's effective when you get outside.
Good to know. Okay, so how often should sunscreen be reapplied?
Most sunscreens listed on their bottle how often you should reapply it, but a rule of thumb is every couple of hours. A good time to do that is if you decide to get out of the pool, or maybe if you're outside doing yard work or something. If you take a little break, go ahead and put some more sunscreen on.
That's good to know too. Okay, how much lotion sunscreen should we be slathering all over our bodies?
So we should make sure we get it on get a good layer on. Usually for most people it takes around an ounce, which is equivalent to a shot glass.
I did not know that. Okay, what about spray sunscreens? How do we know we've sprayed enough?
So it's very important we use spray sunscreen to be super careful with them. Make sure we do not spray them anywhere near your face. When you're spraying it on your body, make sure you're spraying it on really good, and you're also rubbing it in kind of where you see that skin kind of glisten.
Okay. And do we need to replace sunscreen each year?
So sunscreen should list the expiration date on it. So it's very important to look for that. If it doesn't, recommend dating it when you open that bottle of sunscreen. If we're using sunscreen like we should, you should go through a bottle much less than a year. But if not, the FDA requires that they keep their strength for up to 3 years. Now, if we're storing it outside in the heat, or somewhere in direct sunlight, that can affect its it can go bad quicker in those sense. Also, too, it's important if you notice any changes in the color, the consistency, if there's an odor to that sunscreen, make sure you discard that sunscreen.
It's good to know too. Okay, moving on to common areas that people might forget to put that sunscreen.
Yeah, so make sure that it's really important that we put our sunscreen in everywhere. Make sure, especially places like our ears, the back of our neck, even between our fingers and toes. It's important to make sure we get it on everywhere when we're outside.
That's my one. My grandpa always like the ears. Don't forget the ears. Okay, looking at hats now. What type of hat is recommended for sun protection?
So it's very important to wear a hat with a wide brim. I've actually got one here that we use, one that covers the whole head. It needs to cover our face, our ears, the back of our head, and the top of our head. It needs to be a tightly woven fabric, so it makes sure it covers our whole entire head.
I did not know
Especially those ears.
Yeah, goes over them, right? Okay, so can certain hats still let the sun sneak through and possibly cause that, or head sunburn or, face burn?
Yeah, so we always, for example, we always tell kids if you're wearing a baseball hat when you're outside, make sure you put those sunscreen on your ears and back of our neck. Or some of those hats that aren't tightly woven, the sun may kind of peek through there and might still get a sunburn. That's
good to know too. Okay, is a hat enough to protect your eyes?
No, it's very important we even wear our sunglasses when we're outside. So we need to make sure, again, our sunglasses protect us against the UVA and those UVB rays, because the sun exposure to our eyes over time can cause macular degeneration and cataracts later in life.
What about clothing? Does a certain color make a difference in protecting your skin from the sun?
So it is recommended that we wear darker colored clothing. Now I know some people are saying, hey, it's hot outside. It is a lot warmer when we wear those darker clothes. The little rule of thumb, if you take your shirt and you hold it up to the sunlight, if you can see through that shirt, that means the sun's rays could get through that shirt and you could still get a sunburn. Now, if you do wear a light colored shirt when you're outside that doesn't have that SPF factor, there are some clothing that do have that. Make sure you have your sunscreen on your stomach, your back, and your shoulders so that your skin is protected when you're outside.
What are the signs and changes we need to be on the lookout for that?
So it's really important when we're looking for signs and symptoms of melanomas that we look at what we call our A, B, C, D, E. So the A stands for the asymmetry. One half of the mole doesn't match the other half of that mole. Typically, it's going to be a perfectly round circle. The B is the border of that mole. Typically, again, that border is going to be a perfect round or circle. If we notice that it's jagged, notched, irregular in some way. The C is the color. Typically, moles are going to be either brown or tan, but if we're seeing some variation in color, is it a mixture of brown and tan, maybe black or red? The D is the diameter of the mole. Typically, a mole is going to be less than 1/4 of an inch. But a little kind of rule of thumb is if you take a pencil eraser and you stick it on that mole, if it's bigger than a pencil eraser, it definitely needs to be checked. And the E means it's evolving, that mole is changing over time, that it is growing.
I did not realize that. That's really good things to write down. Okay, so the other thing, what are warning signs of skin cancer? How is it different for those who might have darker skin tones?
So some other things too to look at as far as skin tones, the signs and symptoms are the same. They may have some variation in how they look. Also some signs and symptoms of basal cell or squamous cell carcinomas, which those cancers typically don't spread to other parts of the body. They can be something like a sore that doesn't heal. Or it could be a wart that doesn't heal or get better after treatment. It could be like a scaly, patchy area. A lot of times we see those two particular types of cancer on those highly sun-exposed areas like our face, our ears, the back of our necks, and our hands.
And if you notice a concerning spot on your skin, what should you do?
So it's very important if you notice any of these signs and symptoms or anything that you're concerned about that you do report that to your primary care doctor or a dermatologist. Here at Cone Health, we are offering some free skin cancer screenings that are coming up.
Yeah, I want you to tell us more about those free skin cancer screenings. I think that's great.
So those skin cancer screenings are open to men, women, children of all ages that have not seen a dermatologist within the past year. They are coming up on Monday, May the 6th here at the Cone Health Cancer Center at Wesley Long, and on Monday, June the 3rd at our Cone Health Cancer Center at Alamance. To register, registration is required, so you can call 336-832-0849 to register to make an appointment for one of those screenings.
That is great. Okay, so any tips that we should know about skin cancer?
So we recommend you to slip, slop, and slap. And that's basically what I just said today. Slip on a dark colored shirt, slop on your 30 sunscreen 30 minutes before you go outside, slap on a hat that covers our whole head, and also to make sure not to forget our sunglasses to protect our eyes. And it's also important to make sure if the sun's rays are the strongest, which is between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And another little secret we tell kids, if your shadow is shorter than you, that again lets you know that the sun's rays are the strongest. To again make sure your skin is protected from the sun and to find shade when you're outside.
I mean, just stressing on the importance too when it comes to wearing sunscreen and wearing these protective measures. Why is it so important that we do this? How can this help us in the long term?
So it's very important, and not just to wear them on hot sunny days or in the summer. We can actually get sunburned any day of the year. We can get burned on a cloudy day. We can even get burnt in the winter. So to make sure that we're always protecting our skin while we're outside in the sun, and if we notice any changes in our skin, to make sure that we are reporting that to a physician.
And is there any quick tips on how often to remind yourself to put on that sunscreen?
To make sure you always put your sunscreen on every time that you're going to go outside. And again, to make sure you're reapplying it while you're outside. The easy time to do that is if you decide to just take a little break while you're outside, getting out of that pool, super time to go ahead and